Yeah. All right.
It's working.
Let's see what's going on
We
in
got a bunch of
here.
people: Kansas City, New York. I saw Ireland.
Whoa, really?
It's pretty
What
random.
time is it?
Yeah.
Time is it in Ireland?
That's a good question. Yo, Dean, what time is it on Ireland?
Well, let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to jump on here and say hello to everybody because it's been a long time. We don't get to see, we don't get to have FaceTime with our friends and our fans and people that love our music and stuff, and just want to figure out how to connect. So,
Yeah, kind of. This is kind of the new way. Well, especially for us, this is kind of the new way to do this. Um, I kind of like it.
kind of
You
cool.
know, I'm
Something
doing,
else.
yeah, I'm doing this with other things, you know, work and stuff, and I kind of like it. But yeah, the idea is like Jared just said. I think is to connect, and we were talking yesterday, and it's kind of like it's kind of like a big bummer to think about this, but in 2 weeks, our last show would be 1 year ago. It was December 19th or
That's
20th with
crazy.
Junkyard here in Austin. Our last show
It's
was a
hard
year.
to imagine that. I mean, we play so often that a year ago, you haven't played in a year. Holy crap!
Yeah, that doesn't go right. That doesn't sit right with me. But I'm not quite sure how to, you know,
It is what it is because everybody's kind of dealing with similar stuff, right? I mean, some people don't even want to go to restaurants because of the situation, let alone see bands, and they're forced to stay home like everybody else. So we're just adjusting, adapting or whatever, right?
well, yeah, and it's concerning, and I think that this is a way for us to let everybody know that it's, you know, we're not over here just saying fuck it, man. You know,
Of course not.
we're thinking about you know, immediate future as well as who knows beyond. So we're just trying to get it together. Here's something I wanted to look at. Just some positive things here. People are saying Bill Scahill says new live album rocks and he
Thanks,
loves it.
Bill.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
We
And
worked hard on that. It was a
that
lot
would
of
have been
improvement.
our last show. That
That's the
was
last
the
show.
and Bill Scahill has it and loves it. And Bill, if you can tell us where you're from, that'd be good. If you're from Texas, that would make sense. You might have even been at the show.
Look at
Which,
Bruce. Bruce says he's ready to play again.
well, of course, um, everyone's itching to play, but not, you know, want to just go out and be a hero. And you know,
Yeah.
it's more about it has to make sense for everyone. You have to consider everyone's opinions and how comfortable they feel about it. You don't just go do it because, you know,
Yeah,
that's a
like
bit
personally,
selfish.
I'm ready to go do it, but other guys in the band aren't. So I have to respect that. But people have kids, and like I have my mother's old enough to, she's a risk, so I can't risk that. Like just things like that. So it's perfectly understandable.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Doug Kneep. I think he's in the Carolinas. We stayed at Doug's house one time. I think we went through Charlotte with the bus a couple times, and we went through in a van and a trailer when the bus broke down, and Doug let us go shower at his house.
Good guy. We got a lot of friends like that. Love them. Thank you
See,
very
yeah,
much.
yeah,
Spent
that
spent some
kind of
time.
those were some good years. We call those the before times, and that's just kind of how it goes right now.
Yeah. It's Doug was saying, I think it was Doug right here, live webcast. You know, a lot of people are live streaming. Have you done any live streams, Jason?
Um,
Just cameras, no audience.
I do them with the school, but as far as performing myself, no,
Yeah, like the
haven't.
bigger bands, it's a little different. You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are doing it themselves, and just hiring a production crew to do it,
Yeah.
so they don't have to really worry about it. And then they're charging but anywheres between 15 and 25 for a ticket.
To see this
Um,
live stream.
to see a live
Yeah.
stream like a pay-per-view type of a thing, there's going to be a lot of Christmas specials done the same way, just because they can't have any audience. Um, I would imagine, the Nutcracker, is going to be a pay-per-view sort of all over
Have
the
you seen Kevin
place.
Hart on Netflix? He's got Kevin Hart's got a special, Netflix streaming
Yeah,
special.
he did it from his
Yeah,
living room,
and
right?
there's people I can't tell. I mean, that
No, he invited his special friends and,
it's in a living room.
close. Yeah, it's in his living room, and he's got money, so he's got a big living room. So
Well, if you look
it's
at it,
probably.
it actually looks like a mini club. It doesn't look like just a living room. Like he might have built on a whole,
Oh, I see what
thing.
you're
I
saying.
mean,
Yeah,
if like I only saw the
yeah, it
one,
may be a set.
huh?
It may be a set.
Yeah, I think it's a
He may
set.
be yeah, yeah.
And but
Real quick, Bob Sutcliffe, who's a good friend of the band's, he's in KC. He's a big fan, and we've known Bob for a long, long time. And I just wanted to say hello, Bob. We love you, and we know you have the new record, and that you are a big supporter. So
what's up, Chris?
you. Doug has it too, by the way. There's some of these people were hit us full on immediately when the thing came out, and they were way all about it. And here's Jason
Yeah, I
Greathouse
miss Cindy.
missing you.
We miss Indy too.
In Indianapolis is a fun place to go
Hey,
rock.
Doug, which bus was that? You said big ass bus. Was it the red one or the blue one or the white one?
Yeah,
Because
right.
we've had
Yeah,
3 generations of buses.
it wasn't the same bus just spray painted in a Walmart parking lot because it was a getaway vehicle. It was actually we actually had three different buses. So.
I think if we still had
I,
the red bus, we could put the Van Halen stripes.
right,
It'd be pretty
striped
rad.
on it. Yeah, yeah, it was the red one. He said it was the red one. But anyway, I think that I have an opinion about the live stream thing. It's not going to replace the energy that a room full of rock and roll fans have with a band on the stage in the corner.
Yeah,
Just,
a lot of people don't.
take yourself there real quick, and it's not the same. Watching, whoever you're currently watching on a live stream, it ain't the same. I don't care if you got shots of whiskey lined up on the coffee table and you're watching it on a big screen. It's
It's so
not the same.
difficult to pull that
It's
off.
not. Yeah, it's not the same to create that energy. It's never going to replace live shows,
People are
and
trying.
it's just not. It's
Yeah,
not.
because I remember when you could go to see live shows, and then there was this. You could flip through the channels, and you would see like the live recorded things. Like in public access, whatever. And it was just there. Like, there's nothing. There's not enough energy in there to make you want to sit there and watch it for too long. Like you would a live show, and it's not to cut them down or take anything away from that. It was just very difficult to create fire and energy like when you go see a show and you go like, yeah, that was so badass. How are you gonna get that? I can't see how it would work with no audience nearly
You
the same.
you can't. I didn't watch it. I'm a huge Armored Saint fan, but Armored Saint had put out a brand new record during the pandemic, and it was number one on all the platforms, and it kicked a bunch of ass. And Metal Blade, they're one of the OGs of Metal Blade, and so they have all this fantastic support and huge fan base worldwide. And they kicked a bunch of ass, but they did a live stream, and a lot of the reviews were saying how great it was and this and that. But Armored Saint is a live band. When you go see them, you are into it. They are into it.
Yeah.
And I'm very concerned that because when you dot the song, ba-da-da, God, song's over, and you're like, hey, thanks, and you're like, there's no audience there, just cameras.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's different. It's different. You almost have to MC your own gig, and I mean, even more so than a front man talking to the audience. You're talking to the cameras, which are talking to the audience, and it's just bizarre.
It's very
So I don't
bizarre.
really know how
It,
it's gonna work.
you know, it
Yeah.
reminds me of when I was young. My parents would watch musical shows like Hee Haw and stuff like that, and so I grew up listening to country music and kind of watching those kinds of shows. And the one thing that they would always say is like how entertaining somebody was, and it wasn't, like when you see a musical artist and they're playing their song, singing their song, song's over, done. There's no in between. Like those shows, they had to act and be funny almost, or candid, or whatever. Maybe on Saturday Night Live you'll see it, but it's not as normal. But that's what it reminds me of. Like you'd have to bring something more to it, um, you know, because I don't know. I don't think people realize, non-musicians. I don't think they realize how difficult it is to like perform when no one's there, as opposed to when someone's there. It's like night and day. Difficult thing.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live is a good example. They've been broadcasting live for 100 years, and now they're just splitting up their studio audience. We're all wearing masks, of course, and they're just kind of putting people in pods. If you came in with a small group of people, they're just kind of
Right.
they're doing it right. And when you watch this sort of in betweens, and they have the band plan, the whole crew is wearing masks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone is wearing masks.
Yeah.
I watched Saturday Night Live, and last night I saw people wearing the face covering as well as the shield and gloves, and they're still kind of a hot spot. So I feel like, as professional as the crews are in the, I don't, for lack of a better term, in the professional entertainment world, that needs to happen on the ground level too, in my opinion, for it to be acceptable, in my opinion, again. And I don't see that happening.
I did.
I don't see.
I've mixed a handful of shows at Antone's lately,
Yes,
live
sir.
live sound, and they have it. I'm not sure all the regulations. I'm no expert, but it seems that bars have regulations. But Antone's is able to do their shows because they can serve food, so it becomes a sit down dinner theater, so to speak. So these tables, and they're separated, and like any all the restaurants as well, you have to walk in with a mask, sit down, and then you can take your mask off because you're with people that some states I think you're not allowed. Like they give you grief if you've taken your mask off at the table. So some people are doing it, and I felt pretty safe. I was in my own. I was in my at the mixing console. There wasn't anybody around me. The guy I was working with, we were all wearing masks, and there was a point when I was by myself and I could pull my mask off and breathe a little bit, but the band members didn't have masks on stage. Uh, you know,
Yeah, see, that's another thing. Is kind of weird. You don't, the whole idea that we can be asymptomatic and be like a carrier, like a zombie that hasn't quite turned yet. That's the scariest part to me. So if I'm wearing a mask, and that person who has it and doesn't know it because they got a false negative, or they have it and they don't have any symptoms and they're not wearing a mask,
yeah,
it's completely a legitimate argument as to what the hell are we doing here. So and it could be someone in your band, and it's just, that's the scariest. And once again, I'm not totally buying into, I'm never playing a show again. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying, you know, we just, I don't think that we need to be so hasty to be the hero. Fuck it, we're playing shows,
oh
and
no,
there's
you don't have to do that. I mean, the
no,
people that I
no.
worked for, they weren't real quick. I think it more was Antone's trying to open up and get business going, because a lot of these businesses, they can't wait around that much before they close, and then something like Antone's has been around for a long time. I know probably people on here probably aren't fans of them, but it's just an example. You don't want them just to close down because of this, but I don't think it's going to be forever. I think things are going to turn around. Eventually, it's going to be clearer, and we can go back to our business. We've had other pandemics happen that weren't so publicized. Tuberculosis killed more people than this not too long ago, and it wasn't. We didn't shut down the whole country, and we didn't, and you know,
Yeah.
example.
Yeah, there's that's a great example. And I just think that stuff like that is just another plague, and there'll be another one after this one.
Yeah,
So,
they're never ending.
just get ready to you know have it be the new way to protect yourself. Just look at it as a seat belt. Whether you believe in the vaccine, I'm not trying to open a can of worms, whether you believe in getting vaccinated or not, you have an option with a way that you could be protecting yourself. That's all. So if you do the work and you care, that's that's all that is.
Well,
That's all that
as far
is.
as this goes, kind of on a different subject, I like technology and I'm into it, and I've been since this stuff has kind of happened. I've been wanting to stream, so this is kind of I do some other streaming stuff, but not like professionally or anything. But this was one of the things I wanted to do because, like we talked about earlier, things are going more virtual as a norm, like being able to be on camera with other people and publish stuff and whatnot. I love it. I think it's cool. But I didn't really know what I was doing. So like the other day when we posted, we were just testing stuff, and now it's working. So now mission accomplished. I'd like to have guests on here. We want to get Bruce on. We get some other people just talking. But I like the idea of the challenge and something new. Another platform maybe, or however you want to look at it. That's what gets me going.
I like the idea of to just kind of add. I like this whole idea here. I mean, I love seeing people on here kind of asking questions and
Yeah.
talking. We're trying to keep it Broken Teeth related. There's some questions in here that are spawning from other projects that either I or Jared have, and that's fine. But
Dirty
we're
Looks. Dirty Looks is doing a new thing.
yeah, Dirty Looks is there are some makeup dates booked right now, and they're probably online. I don't even know when they are, and I am still involved, and we'll just see what happens with everything. But I love the idea of getting back into the studio and writing. I mean, people are already talking about it. Someone was asking about a collaboration, and we're trying to collaborate with each other. So we're trying to get sort of a hello Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Dan
What's
Vasquez.
up, Dan?
We are trying to get back on the
Yeah,
horse,
usually we spend a lot of time accumulating song ideas and stuff, and casually, because it's not all. I mean, I don't just sit around. I probably write a riff or so a day, and I write something a day. Every day I'm writing something, but it's not like we're going in and trying to finish a song. Then we're accumulating bits. We accumulate all these little pieces, and then when we need a record, that's usually when we say, all right, let's write a record, let's go. And we kind of, like, the last one took a little longer than usual. One record took 2 weeks start to finish, everything about it. One took a year. I mean, you never know. But we're always trying to put something out, and since we didn't have a record a year ago, that's kind of why we had the idea of doing the live record, because we needed something to put out. I like, just keep more stuff.
it's really easy to talk Jason into put putting out putting out anything. Hey man, let's put out. Okay, let's do it. I'm not a big fan of. I like this question from Bill. Broken Teeth. How do you go about recording with the pandemic with Broken Teeth? We
We
should
haven't.
talk about that we should talk about that in a minute. I'm not a big fan of putting out a single, like one song. I like to compile as much, even if it's bullshit, like past recordings or live versions or something, with one new song that's actually we've actually gone in and produced, recorded and mixed and everything. We did that years ago with Devil on the Road and released it as like a greatest hits kind of a thing, even though we got no business putting together greatest hits. The greatest hits in our eyes, right? Which ended up basically being our set list as it ran current at that time.
I kind of
And
forgot about that.
yeah, and it was all studio versions, of course, of the
Yeah,
songs,
that set
and then
list was
Devil on the
awesome. So that's what we were like. This is really cool. Let's put this
yeah,
out like that.
and that Devil on the Road is still available, and a lot of people don't know about that. So
Devil on the Road. When we did that. I'm trying to think. There was something about the climate of CD sales. I think it was when people were not selling not buying CDs quite as much as they were. It was switching over to more digital all the time, and so us making a record sometimes is so involved. It takes over your life for like I was saying, it could be a year, but you know, it seems that
cutting out,
if
Jerry.
you're gonna put out, sorry.
It seems if you're going to put out, sorry, cutting out a little bit,
Oh yeah, I got weird. I think I lost.
getting about every other
Oh yeah,
word.
I lost. Can you hear me
Well, I
now?
think we're okay. Can you? Yes, sir.
Uh, I was saying like at the time we tried Devil on the Road was an attempt at doing a single. We literally put out a single, and it didn't sell at all. And we couldn't sell. No one seemed to care. Like when you put out a record and you go new record, it was like yeah. We put out hey new song. They're like oh, like okay. So
Yeah,
then we
yeah.
incorporated in the next record. There was a couple of those. We did two of those. It just didn't. It just didn't go anywhere. So we're back to making records again.
Well, and we also don't have any kind of like street team thing. We don't have any sort of. I mean, all we really have as far as DIY is, back in the before times, as I call them now, I would still make show posters and hang them up in record stores and,
Awesome.
very old school way of doing things, but it's all I know. And the digital, you just, I know bands and I work with other bands who have like, band members and like the main guy will just live on all of the social platforms like daily. They post 5 times a day. They're
Yeah.
reposting things, and they're commenting, and they now these are people who have 1 million followers, but it's because of that mindset of, well, I have to live online and be this online presence. And man, ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
I'd rather be writing a song or, by the fire in the backyard or,
Yeah. I can't live
I
on
don't want to,
social media.
yeah, I don't want to live on social media. But you know what? I feel like this is a way to, if we can't play live right now, this is a way to like be in the room with you guys and celebrate rock and roll. So
Yeah.
it's just avenues, right?
Yeah.
It's just a thing.
Yeah, and I think we
Yeah.
can we've got some idea. We've got some ideas of other things we can check out and give you guys some value. Don't want to bore our audience and you know.
Bob Berry, who is completely legit, I've known for 1,000 years. He's asking. I think he's in Indy. He's asking if CD is a good still, something that you still want to make CDs. And here's Lance Edmund saying the same thing. Yes, CDs are the easiest closest thing to having a, if we can't afford to put it out on vinyl, which I love vinyl, and vinyl is this creates this ritual that you hold in your hand, and it's kind of an important sort of ritual in my life. But younger fans and younger music people are all about digital, and some friends of ours have sales awards that commemorate 1 million streams, like our buddy Pat Kinnison has a Heaven Below record or a single that he was he com- it, that he has this award that he hangs on the wall that to commemorate 1 million streams. And my brain explodes when I even think if that's even something to commemorate, because the streams on Spotify pay like, if you get a penny in a file and just shave off some penny dust, that's what Spotify pays you. I'm not in this for the money,
No,
you know,
of course
but
not. But
but you
it is a
your
product we're
your
trying to do
intellectual
something with.
your intellectual property means something, and I feel like
Hmm.
you are building some kind of rock and roll army if you have a CD or vinyl, or someone at least downloads your entire record. But to celebrate 1 million streams is another thing that I don't my being just has a hard time soaking up. But I'm extremely proud of my friend Pat Kennison, who's from San Antonio, Texas, who plays with Lita Ford and his own band
Yeah, he's
Heaven and
awesome.
Below.
Yep.
He is so talented and so great, and he's got a great band, and he's done it. He's pulling it off, and he's a little bit younger, and he's got his eye on the prize, and he means business. So I'm grateful to have his friendship, and extremely proud. We are as a band, and they're all his band's all Broken Teeth fans.
Yeah,
So
it's very cool.
of course, of course they know it's good.
Yeah.
So Henry is Buddy Henry saying I buy CD mainly. I'll buy special edition vinyl. See, that's what I'm talking about. I think that there's enough people who want to hold something in their hand.
Well, so
Uh,
there's an aspect of like when I was talking about a single, that whole single thing. Once that project of singles wasn't going to work, what it made me realize is what I have always done this, and I know you're the same way. Whenever we go to make a record, you're making an album, which is not just the music, but there's artwork and it's a whole thing and it's a tangible, it's a whole piece of art. But it's there's a lot going
it's a
into it.
painting.
It's a
It's
painting.
a,
Yeah,
it's a paint.
it's so
Yeah,
full that that's the what I get back from it is I can go like, look what I just made, and I can hand you something you can go like, damn, look, that's great, as opposed to the digital thing. Like, I use digital. I have songs like I use Apple Music because I personally think I like Apple Music because they pay quite a bit with your songs, and it's not like the freebie thing so much. And so I have no problem paying for it. If someone tells me like, "Hey, this record's great," I add it. So I do a lot of digital that way. But as far as making records, I'm sure for fans, like getting a record that has, some substance to it, like people that buy CDs online, that's really what you're getting. You want to see what these guys are doing, what they have to offer, and they're pretty much handing you their hearts, or their whatever, their souls that way,
no,
as
like
opposed to this kind of like, this is a list of songs, here's a cover picture, that's it. Okay, you know what I
right.
mean.
Yeah. Well, I like how what you said. You're handing everyone your
Your
heart.
heart and soul, man.
I
And
you
that's
know
usually what we're thinking about building.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not to go emotional or cry or anything, but I believe in that. I believe that all of this means something. And when a band is like writing songs, it's their intellectual property, it's their blood that they're trying to put into it. And if they're not doing that, if they're just going, yeah, here's a bunch of songs. Well, how many of those songs are any good?
Probably, yeah.
So so we try to put a song on the record that's fun, even if we write a song that we don't really think we'll ever play live, because you can't play them all. That's fine as long as the song is fucking good. As long as we think the song as a group is the song is good, we get excited, and every band says the same thing. We're trying to write songs that I would want to listen to, and that's
Well, I want to
normal.
answer Bill's question here about how we
Do it.
record in the studio with the pandemic.
Yes.
Most of it, like, we haven't, but if everybody, the way we did it before was in pieces, anyways. We would rehearse up the music and then go in. Usually, it's me and Bruce to start, and we've done it a bunch of different ways, probably every way you can think of. But the the last record, we spent most of the time writing it and demoing the songs all the way like full demos where you could rock the demos, like the whole record, and it was killer. It just didn't need, we needed the better sounds, which was fine. I just wanted to demo them up, but every one of those was individual on the demo stuff, so I could tell Rob, hey man, I need give me a bass track, and he would send me a bass track that he did at his house. Jason did the same thing, and Dave. Everybody did everything separate like that, and then I just laid them in. So recording, writing is really the hard part with the pandemic, because like that energy thing with the live shows, when I'm working with Jason, it's much more difficult to work on a song in video for me than in person. I can sit down and, you're right there. It's just different. That's the hard part, that energy and the bounce off thing, because sometimes there's a lack of that in the video to get creative, But once you have all the creative stuff done and your parts, it's it's not, that you don't need that same energy, and we can recreate that and just semitones, and I get tracks and lay them into the mix, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, Bob is your uncle. So, um, collaboration with everyone in the band is something that can be difficult. Uh, I was sorry, I'm getting a text from Tom Hazer
Hey
from
Tom.
the la-
And like
yeah,
if you remember the last record, writing that back and forth, one of the main reasons we had to do that was I was living in New York, and I couldn't do I just had to go back and forth. Everybody, tracks back and forth like that. It was much easier to send a track over the internet because I was 400,000 miles away. But there's someone
right.
from New York.
Yeah, we got Canada in here too, and I love that. We actually got to play in Canada, Broken Teeth. Uh, that was fun. I can't remember where we were.
Canada.
Thought, yeah, it might have been called like Hamilton or something like that. I can't remember where it was.
Yeah, it was fun. I remember playing there. It's fun. I always like Canada. We got someone
Yeah,
from
me.
Argentina. I love Argentina. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Argentina on here. The beef and meat are so good. Just had to throw
Well,
that
how
out
do
there.
are they preparing it different? Is that what's
It's
up?
just super clean. They don't have all the bogus crap they put in the animals here, and they just, it's been like a, I don't know, like it's their thing besides soccer. But and when you order it, like you sit down, it's this gigantic bowl of just all the meats. So maybe not everywhere, but that was my
Right.
experience. I loved it. Loved
Dan,
it.
Dan Delaney, who's Canadian but lives in Mexico and has for years, he says it was
Mm-hmm.
Hamilton, and he says that's where McMaster University is. So that's
There's
no
more
relation.
McMasters. I notice them a lot. I've noticed one the
Yeah,
other day. Random.
there's quite a few actually. It's not a popular name, but there are some of us out there, some related, probably some not. Um, Back to the writing and the collaborative efforts that we do. It's I was saying it's difficult uh, to collaborate with everyone kind of spread out because we. I mean, I'm a little bit away from where like Bruce and Jared are, and then David is kind of North Austin, so it's a little bit of a hike when we plan on getting in a room and
Rob's west of Austin.
putting putting things together. But nothing sort of keeps us from writing anything because we can write parts and email the parts to each other, which has been going on for years and years and
Yeah.
years. There's collaborative efforts that happen. I mean, I'm in a project where I've never even met the guys in the band. I just record my stuff, and send shit. So, however, it's not, and it's yeah, it's funny as hell, and it's very strange, but it's obviously not that strange. So, and I've made two records with a band of guys I've never met. So it's kind of interesting. So the way Broken Teeth kind of does it, uh, there's not one way to do it.
No, and it
Um,
changes every time depending on what everybody's lifestyle is at the time. It has every record
yeah, yeah, you're
how we
right.
do things.
Yeah, I feel like if I may speak freely, Jared, I feel like Jared wants to get in a room with me, and we he doesn't want either of us to show up unless we have a couple of
Some
pieces
stuff to
laid
lay
out
out.
in front of us. Yeah, there has to be some building blocks. There has to be a riff. There has to be at least a melody line or a lyric. The melody line usually writes itself. You know, the melody line being the notes I'm going to sing the lyric to, right? The riff can be completely mundane. The riff can be one note.
Says you.
You know, it can be to be creative on top of that kind of a
Yeah,
simple, just
we got
chugging
a
away.
break in our stream for a second there.
Oh
I
yeah,
think it's back now. I'm not
are
sure.
we offline?
Yeah, we're online. It just I don't know why
Oh good.
I dropped my stream for a second.
Oh, but we're back
It
on.
looks like it. Yeah. Anyway,
Well,
I
we
don't.
have 37 people watching, and it can maybe I'll be able to see the break on my end.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll continue. So when we have a couple of things to like toss up in the air and see if they're going to work or flush themselves out, you know, yeah, Felix says stream dropped only momentarily, so I guess we're back. Uh, if we have something to flush out, we're probably going to end up getting in a room together.
That usually
Uh,
happens. It helps when you have something like you're saying, like when we used to do back in the Paul when Paul was in the band. That's how we would do it. We had two or three parts, and we go in, and as a band, we would make it into the full thing. But just chopping up the little starting bits was never like that. It was hard to do. We did it with the band, got in in the room with the band, and hey, well, let's come up with a riff, and it was just a disaster. It was everything was just it didn't work. I don't know why. It wasn't anybody's fault. It just was weird, and
you
um,
know the fun. I'm glad that you brought that up because the funny thing is there's people out there that don't feel like they're writing anything unless they get into the garage, you know, metaphorically, and put together something as a band. Uh, On the contrary, I feel like if I've got a melody line and I'm driving, I sing it into my phone and email it to someone,
yeah,
usually Jared, and Jared's able to find even the key that I'm singing in and write a riff
yeah.
underneath it and mix it. He can dump it
So
into
it
a,
starts with
a
me on
program.
mine. It starts with the voice recorder. So I just make a little tiny thing of like a riff or a word or whatever. That's the beginning. I'm writing. It may not be like something that I could play to Jason that's gonna, sound like anything. I have to maybe redo it a little bit, but that's still writing because I have this riff. It's not quite ready yet, but then you know what I mean. Several stages.
You're putting things into the oven. You're waiting for the next influence of things to come by and jump out at you to add on to whatever it is you think that might taste good. So um, that's kind of how that works. Sean Weingartner's in here. Hey, Sean.
Hey, Sean.
He says he's he says this is hardcore. He says I don't know how deep we can get on this. One of my favorite stories of Broken Teeth is Bruce showing up with his kit and you took off his side symbol. You won't need this anymore.
His ride symbol.
I don't. Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
took off his ride symbol
Ride
because he doesn't
symbol.
use
Right.
ride. I don't know
Right.
why Jason hates ride, and every time, like in the first, hey, just get rid of that. Like, always on the hi hat, either open or close, open close.
Yeah,
Like
that's kind of true.
you,
Yeah, no, it is kind of
it's
true.
the only person. You're the only person that I've ever had experience that kind of no ride symbol, man. Mm-mm.
Well, when I think extremely hard about
Sean,
the bands that we sort of steal from, borrow from, influence by, the institution bands like Ramones, AC/DC, Rose Tattoo,
Rose Tattoo.
uh
Did you say
yep,
Rose
Rose
Tattoo?
Tattoo. That was Teddy. Yeah. Old Iron Maiden, maybe Old Priest. All of those institutionalized bands that are blues based. Motorhead. I hope I said Motorhead. When I pull it down to the basics, I feel like what's the meat of the song is not necessarily the ride cymbal that's talking to me. Yeah, here's
I
Sean
hear
going
you.
AC/DC never used a
No,
ride.
I get
That's
it. I get it. In fact, like some of those, that's one of those things. I don't know what the term for it would be, but like rule of thumb for our style, don't play a ride cymbal. It's either going to be open or closed. And all the ride cymbal was is usually used for is to switch to a different part, have kind of a different sound for it. It usually kind of smooths out and opens up so vocals can be heard or differently or things. It's just kind of it's a different thing. So if you get rid of it and you're just doing that, I got used to it pretty quick, especially with, we drive. I write all kinds of different things, so it's not just driving rock. And so when you're using that hi hat thing like that, it only makes sense, to leave out the ride and only play on the hi hat. And I got used to it quick. Makes it easier
I
to
think
write too.
I think the ride cymbal creates a different drama in a song. I think that the hi hat, because there's tons of different dramatic tones and sounds, and you can make it sound violent like a car crash, and it has a pedal on it, right? So you're opening and closing
Yeah.
this this hi hat, and it's if there's drummers in the room right now, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. So, when you have your foot completely off the pedal and your ride is just kind of swishy, that's like a ride. So, I mean, I'm sorry, your hi-hat's all swishy like that and noisy and loud.
Yeah.
Also, depending on your velocity of how hard you're hitting it, that's almost like a ride, and it's almost like a violent ride
It
cymbal.
just needs to change. So from one section of the song to the next, it just needs to change, and
Yes.
usually louder for the next one to build up. That's usually what we do. It's kind of straight up, and Bruce does it perfectly.
Yeah, he does.
He's
And
got great
I feel
dynamics. So, I mean,
I feel like
within rock,
I feel like from the very, very beginning, this band is like 21 years old now or
y'all
something.
know that.
So
21 years old.
yeah, we've been writing rock and roll together for 20 years. So when you think about what was happening just from day one, it's still happening now. As far as the dynamic, I really do think the band has grown in tone of song.
Absolutely.
I think that the stuff we did when Paul was with us, the founding member, it was bluesier and a little bit pulled back. And I think that when he left and we got David Beeson, everything kind of like leaned forward a little bit and had a little bit more hair on it, and it was a little bit grittier. And then the warmth of the band was only there with what the bass and drums were doing for the most part. I mean, I played bass on the first record, so
Yeah, up
it
until
was kind of a
I
different
think I
animal.
think at certain
So
point the Paul era we were still experimental in certain ways, but it was almost like we weren't really experimenting outside of the uh, ACDC box. We kind of kept it like that, even though it was starting to move. But when Dave got in the band, I remember us talking about it, like, well, because I was playing rhythm guitar when Paul was in the band. I switched because it was kind of I wanted to be rhythm pig. I could play solo. It was just kind of something different. Started doing that, and then when Dave got in the band, I was that by that point I wanted to play more solo. So I think it was an actual conscious. We were talking about having changing it up, and we were also doing more of the Judas Priest influences. Remember, we were playing
yeah,
some of those bits, and so at that point, I think it started becoming the biggest influences are ACDC, Judas Priest, Motorhead. That lasted for a long time. ACDC. What kind of music do you play? Well, if you like ACDC, Judas Priest, and Motorhead, you'd like us.
it's I think that we have a format that we're really trying to stick to, and I still think those three bands are what we're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we want to write. classic, timeless rock. We don't necessarily want to reinvent the wheel. The wheel is badass. We don't need a new kind of a wheel. Um, I think that the people really need to remember, um, what it is about, the blues and basic three chord rock and roll, and be able to do it for 50 years, such as all of those
Yeah.
bands. And that's important to me as a music fan. I mean, if when you put on an old Motown record, there's a reason you're putting on that old Motown record.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. There's a format that you're going by. So
Yeah. And I think
I think that that's never going to end.
we've
So
stuck with our, even though like what we were talking about morphing, I think we came into ourselves a little better, stepped into our trip, and we've maintained that. And every record, like there's been times when somebody has said something like trying something different, and for us to step out of our formula, uh, it's not far off because we want. I mean, I personally am not as metal inspired as Jason is. So a lot of the stuff I just try to keep it into a certain, like I don't want to be too metal with it, but it's got to have crunch and rock and all that stuff like ACDC or Motorhead would, and that's not metal to me, even though you could call it that. But
yeah,
but I still want to stick to it.
forefathers,
I
forefathers of
Yeah,
metal. Yeah,
to me that classic. The word classic makes more sense. And but I guess my point was I still like to stick to the guns. So every Broken Teeth record to me has to have some punch to it. That same
going
kind of punch.
going to the comments here. Dan Delaney, who's Canadian Mexico. He is. I love Dan. He recently did a YouTube video where he's reviewing all like 8 or 9 of our records. It's fun to
Yeah,
watch
it's
because
badass.
he's a fan, and he's just going, oh yeah, this and that and blah 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 blah. Has a lot of backstory. You kind of learn a lot. I even learned a lot. But he's talking about the Bulldozer record. And he's saying that there's the original material on the Bulldozer record, like all three of those tunes
The
are very Priest,
the first
very
three
Judas
songs we're talking
Priest.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's an interesting sort of thing to talk about, or just for him to say, because when we're writing those songs, we're not going, does it sound like Judas Priest enough?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
let's add this
Yeah,
part.
so I
Let's
was listening
let's
to
put a
Screaming
little
for
bit.
Vengeance, and I got this song idea.
Yeah, let's
Okay,
put more of this in there. In my
no worries.
opinion, some of those songs sound like they could have been on Riot Fire Down Under. That's what I think. I can't remember what song it
Raining Fire to
was.
me is the more Judas Priest. The other two, I think, are more
Yeah,
diff- like you're talking about.
yeah, yeah. But Dan's not wrong.
No,
He's not
absolutely
wrong.
not. No.
Somebody said a while back, probably right when that record came out. I think it was John Andrews, which we love John
Big
Andrews. I
time.
don't see him on here. I don't see him on here, but he's a longtime Teeth fan, and his little review was, it's very new wave of British heavy metal, and like the songs that are on Bulldozer. He said, man, it's very new wave of British heavy metal, and that uh, made me smile, because I respect that. I think that movement from over there inspired the Bay Area thrash metal scene. A lot of people in Los Angeles were soaking all that up, and that's Diamond Head and Motorhead, and even earlier UFO. And even though they're an Irish band technically, Thin Lizzy, and songwriting like that, where it was, some of the songs were up tempo and fast, but all in a pentatonic blues
Yeah.
riff or
Yep.
solo or anything like that, and whole thing. So there he is. There's John Andrews. He says, "I am here."
Hey, John.
All right.
Oh, we got
Sorry, I
another little
didn't.
dropout, but we're back on. I don't think it was very long.
Yeah, and that's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Sorry,
Whatever.
guys.
Sorry, John. I didn't know you were in here. Good to see you in here. Yeah, you're welcome for never quitting. I don't really. You never break up the band.
So
People go, "Oh man, we're not making any money doing this. We're just going to break
what else
up."
am I
That
gonna
well,
do?
it's not about money. It's about writing songs because they're demons inside that you must let out.
I used to call them pimples, but
Ooh, same thing.
you
The
never.
pimple can be a
Yeah, but the
demon.
problem was is you never like I could. Never mind. I'm not gonna go there. So I was gonna
Oh,
touch on something. Those first three songs on Bulldozer, those three songs we wrote together. We wrote them at the same time, right? And
yeah,
we worked them up and started playing them
that's right.
live. They were the beginnings of the Four on the Floor record. Only at the time we didn't have enough songs and we were busy with enough stuff. We needed to put something out. That's why we put Bulldozer out. We had two songs sitting around, Devil on the Road, and then what was the other one? There were the three first songs. There's Devil on the Road, and then one more that we had re-released. Someone tell me. And then we put the two covers on there to make a full record. You know what I mean? Like we had to have at least 7 songs, I guess, or whatever. And
Yeah,
so that was just one of those things. Like we just put those out. It would have been those 3 songs. I think would have been great on Four on the Floor. They would have been a great beginning to that record, or wherever we put them. But like
yeah, but let's
you
want
know,
to go. It goes back to something we said earlier. If it's not cooked yet, it doesn't taste right yet, and you're just not ready. Sometimes that's
well,
when you're on.
those were ready.
Oh yeah, yeah, but
All right, people
it's
walking
that's
in. I can't.
it's a good
People
idea.
walking in my studio.
Yep, take care of it. So let's go to the comments here. There's a Bill is on here. He's saying he's asking me if there's any Broken Teeth songs that were harder to record, i.e., strenuous on your vocals in the studio. To kind of put it in a nutshell and not go whole like master class on you, it
Do it.
is more. It's more about what's good for the song, and if there's something that I'm doing while we're writing the song or demoing out the song, flushing out the song, if there's something that I did on the demo that is the hook in the song, I'll Jared is the one that records my vocals, so he's going to be able to be completely hands on with this answer. Sometimes I'll change one little part without causing any danger of losing the hook. Because if the hook is that, as you called it, a strenuous vocal part, um, I try to keep it in there as long as we all agree that that's what's cool about the demo or what I did on the demo.
About the part,
Or
you mean staying on?
yeah,
If it's
yeah,
strenuous, you're not necessarily changing it to be comfortable because you like the part, or you might change it a little bit in order to keep the part and it's strenuous. All the above kind of thing.
yeah. I don't want it to be if it's usually if it's hard for me to sing, period, whether it's in the studio or if the red light's on and I'm in the studio and I'm recording it and we're there all day, me trying to hit this one note that just isn't doesn't work right. I mean,
That's great.
usually everybody in here knows that, I sing high, I sing hard, and I sing into your
Yeah.
soul, and it's important to me to have that energy when I sing. But if there's one place in my range, I'm technically not a tenor. If there's any singers in here or even music teachers that know what that is, I am not a tenor. But there are places on the internet you can go that rate singers, and I've been on some lists, and they call me a tenor. Newsflash, not a tenor. I use this place in my voice called a third voice, and it is a combination of my head voice, which can almost be argued as a powerful falsetto, like a Mickey Mouse kind of a voice. I call it a third voice because I'm using my diaphragm. I'm using my air from way down low to push this Mickey Mouse uh, idea that's, Mickey Mouse meaning that it's really high. I'm using lower air and my undertow to basically push that note up to where it doesn't sound so thin any longer. And when it has a little bit of grit on it, bonus. as long as I'm not throwing my voice out, as long as, I need it to be comfortable all the time. Because if you're putting all of the if you're hitting it as hard as you can, that's like a pitcher throwing the warming up his arm, getting ready to go in the game, and feeling like he
I have
has
to
to
warm
throw the
up.
ball as hard as he
I have
can.
to warm up. If I'm running, if I'm playing, if I'm singing, everything has to be warmed up because if I try to push or play or whatever too hard, I just it gets like I've literally had my whole hand lock up where there's no movement just because I didn't warm up. It only happens. Same thing happens with the voice. It doesn't happen often, but I always warm up. It just takes a little bit, but worth it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and in the studio, if I'm working on a part and I want it to be like it was on the demo. I call that demo-itis, where some people
Yeah.
are like, "Oh man, I like the demo version better." I respect that, and I get
That's
that.
a
I
hard one to get
totally get
over. It takes a while to relearn how to, like so for on the floor record, I had to make the switch up, because I was going from these demos that I'd worked up so well with everybody, got mixes and everything, so I could jam the parts and go like, okay, cool, we got everything, and then go re-record it. And demoitis is not just it, it's a real thing. You could like get so used to that song, like yeah, it's like you're trying really hard to make a new version, like yeah, it's just not as good as the like you stuck in this thing. So it's a mindset that you definitely have to kind of conquer. I've had a hard time with it in the past, but I'm pretty good at it now. But like one of the solos on the demo, I loved it, and I thought like I really it was a slide solo on "Walking on Your Grave," and so when I went to go redo it, I couldn't find it. I couldn't not, and I knew it wasn't going to be like something we played live all the time, but I really wanted that slide solo that I originally did. So I laid it in, and it worked, and that was really the only one that I had done that with. All the other stuff, I'm pretty sure was, redone, but it was just one of those things, had to use it.
Hey, while you're at it, Adam Guzman is in here. We love Adam. He's in the DFW area. He's saying, Jared, when you are writing solo riffs with Dave, not really sure what a solo riff is, but is there a trade off on ideas for the person performing it? How do you guys divvy up parts? Is what it sounds like.
Well, I literally will if there's solos like that, like four on the floor. I had my hand in. I was always like if I needed a solo, I just put something down. If something that I really felt and needed, to feel like I needed to play that solo, I would play it. But I literally kind of separate things out evenly, so that we get even time as much as possible because it's not all guitar soloing and all that. It's not about me. It's Dave is a great guitar player, so he needs the same time. But as a producer, a lot of times when he's writing, he plays off the cuff. So he just kind of improvises to a certain extent. He doesn't really want to work. He doesn't really work solos out too specifically, unless he's trying to redo something. So sometimes he's played something is like, oh shit, what I do, and he goes and sorts out what he actually played. But a lot of times he'll do an accent, and I'll go keep that, and he's like, really? Like yeah, like this, like one in particular. To me, it reminded me of an Eddie Van Halen thing. We're like, la, 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 and I was like, that sounds great. And he's like, what? I was messing up. And I was like, no, dude, listen. And I play it back to him, because I like that's as a producer, I catch those little bits, like, oh, that was great. I don't want to lose that those little magical moments because when you're playing it, a lot of times, those guys they can't they don't see it from that different perspective. I work on my solos. I work them out. I sit there and play. Okay, I mean, you're gonna have to play this like a bazillion times. So make sure it's something that you want to play or whatever, and it feels like I work on that. Sometimes it just spills right out. It's like anything. Sometimes it spills out. Sometimes I work on them.
I not just to jump in as on my side of things, I feel like sometimes my melody lines write
Yeah.
themselves, and that's an influence I get from the guitar riffs of the song. Whether I wrote the riff, Jared wrote the riff, David wrote the riff, it doesn't matter. It's the influence of what the band is actually chugging away on a demo or just an idea, whether we get together or if it's just like a, Jared will send me ideas sometimes and it'll look like this. It'll have a little drum machine beat going in the background. And sometimes it'll have a little bass line, and most of the time not. It's just a guitar with a tick tock or something. And usually that riff will inspire something for me to sing, a melody, whether I have a lyric or not. That's another thing. Sometimes I'll just be singing dummy words over stuff, and next thing you know, the demons inside are coming out, and the words that I'm thinking are words, and they end up sounding like words, and that will inspire me to write a lyric because of the syllables and the shapes that I'm singing within the dummy words. The song just kind of like barfs itself
Yeah,
out,
and once
and
you get into that
happens a lot.
flow, all that stuff starts just popping out more.
Yeah, it's kind of a trip.
Yeah, I love it, but there's also a point when I just stop writing, sort of, or the intense part of it, and go about my day. And
Yeah, so and I guess when I kind of squint and lean back a little bit, that honestly doesn't happen as long as we would. It would be nice if that happened all the time, but it just doesn't.
yeah,
You have to let stuff cook and sit on it and walk away and come back to it. I mean, I mentioned it earlier. We actually have about four or five or more song ideas right now that were just like me and Jared kind of farting around, throwing stuff back and forth. I wrote a couple of things while I was working on other things, and I was like, "Oh man, that sounds like Broken Teeth," and I'll throw some vocals on it, come up with some lyrical ideas. I mean, we even have song titles that are cool enough to be not just a working title. Sometimes you call it song
yeah,
one or you call it red and you call this one blue or whatever. But these new ideas that's exciting news for everyone. I think that we do have ideas in the can right now that are probably going to turn into
they
something.
are. They definitely.
They,
It's the same thing we always do. So, like I was saying earlier, we just accumulate all this, just pieces and pieces and pieces. That's how they all start. Like we don't sit down and go like write a song and you everything. So it's like, what pieces do you got? We got all these, and like, well, let's make them into songs. You start making them into songs. Next thing you know, you got a record. But it's convergence. We're always gathering pieces, but when we converge to do the thing, that's when it starts to happen, and we can actually, put together a record. And then once you're kind of going in that, you can see the record, and that's where it's at. Like right now, the next record, I can't see it because we're not really working on it.
right. It's not it's we're not clocking in, and that's not our job to write the song right now. It's kind of, I wish it was. I wish we had a writing group thing happening on a daily basis, but you see how that wouldn't work. It would turn in mundane. I mean, end up writing, 100 songs where three of them are good. You just have to be careful about that. It has to be inspired. Uh, I feel like I heard something recent. The guys in Judas Priest, everyone will fly to a location and they'll hang out for a week or whatever, and they'll accumulate stuff. So there's a hard drive somewhere in the world that has new Judas Priest songs on ideas anyway on it, and they just accumulate and they let it grow. So it's riffs from the guitarist, it's vocal ideas from Rob, and I'm sure that their process is very similar to what we're talking about.
Process
You
either
know,
way. No matter how
yeah,
you're
Rob.
doing it, there's a process, and everybody has a little
Yeah,
different way.
Rob Halford, I don't know, but I can't imagine him sitting around every day writing down. He waits for something to hit him, and then he writes it down.
Yeah, some people can sit down and write a whole song from start to finish, and it's great, without coming up, without regurgitating other ideas. But I tend to like the way we do it. Um,
Yeah, and it just depends. It depends on what kind of song it is, and if anyone's in the right. If you're in that frame of mind, and Jared will back me up on this, finish the fucking song. Don't wait for, oh, I better stop writing this so the other guys can get their 2 cents in. No, fucking write the
yeah, write
song.
the song. Um,
Finish it. Sometimes the song writes itself, and you need to let the song tell you what it's trying to tell you. Don't, oh, I don't like that. Just finish it and then you can make changes to it later if it's weird. And that's usually how, if I write the whole song, that's usually what Jared or anybody else might have to add to the song, which makes it a Broken Teeth song.
Yeah. As far as playing lives, which songs? It says Teeth songs that are hard to play live. Some songs are hard to play live, and we don't play them. And if a song, we played songs that like it's great, I love it, and then the crowd is not even, they don't, they go get a drink at that, that we don't play it. We just, that's why we made that record with all the song, like we had this set list that had been kind of worked out. So like every song was killer, So as far as the flow of that, and so we put it out, and it was worth it. But if a song fits in there and doesn't, if we put a song in the set list and it's either too hard to play. One of them was hard to sing and play for me, and House of Damnation. And I love playing it, but it's got this little thing that's a little off, and it's hard. It's just hard for me to do. I figured it out, and I could do it, but there was a moment there where I was like, "This sounds like crap. I'm tired of doing it." I know the record sounds great, and the parts are all cool, but I can't play the wrong. I can't sing the wrong part. I have to sing the right part, otherwise it doesn't sound right. And for a moment there, I was like, I can't do it. And then I don't know what happened. I woke up the next day and couldn't
Bill,
do it for some reason.
same guy,
Freak.
Bill, is coming in here asking questions. I like the part of the question. He says, from a writing standpoint, does it get challenging to write something better than you did before to keep each album fresh with and not writing the same song over and over? Well, honestly, and I'm not even really trying to be funny here, but it is kind of funny. We actually are trying to write the same song over and over.
We're not trying to do it. It
There's
just
a
happens.
there's an idea of what we want this band to represent, and that's the song that we're trying to write.
Yeah.
And when you do it like I just described, it's okay to write something similar right after one another, in a leapfrog kind of a thing, as long as the message is clear that we want to rock your ass off. The if something sounds exactly the same, it doesn't, we go, well, that's, it's not that, when it's that obvious, it doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
I don't really do comparison to the last record. So when we're working on Four on the
Yeah.
Floor, it's not a comparison to any record. I just knew that like we have to put out, I have certain standards, like 10 songs. Or maybe like this next one, I'm thinking it's gonna be a little shorter, for just because there's reasons why I do that. But I'm not thinking like I really want to make a better one than last time. It's just I want to make the best one I can. So I'm just trying to do as best as I can. And when it's all done, like Four on the Floor was done, I when Four on the Floor was done, I could look at it and go, oh, it's different than the other one like this. It's really hard for me to see it that way until I'm done, and I don't even know if anyone's gonna like it. I'm just doing what I do, and hopefully, doing as best as I can, and hopefully people like it and grasp onto it, which they seem to be. So keep doing what I do.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people, well, maybe most of everybody in here, we got like 35 people in here. I think that everyone here knows that Jared produces the records. Jared's in charge of engineering. Usually we have second engineers. We have people that help us sometimes when we are in, usually tracking drums. There's someone there kind of hands-on helping
Sometimes, yeah,
helping him do that, but not all the time.
yeah, it depends.
Uh, and I'm not trying to blow Jared up here, but it's
Yeah,
great every time.
thank
The
you.
everything that's happening in the studio with this band, Jared has ties to. He's making sure that the whole thing sounds like Broken
Yeah,
Teeth,
what am I gonna do?
and
Pay
that's
someone else? Like that's the
oh
problem. Is like we can't pay. I can't. I can only afford to pay like the engineer based on the budget at the time. But if I don't need them, I won't use them. But I'd rather do everything myself than pay someone, unless it was some badass or something that you know what I mean, like some situation like that. But it never is. So usually I'm scraping up what I can, like making favors for the phone call, try to get studio time a certain price, or scraping up gear or whatever. I'm trying to get it together so that it doesn't cost us a shitload of money. I think like the live record, I think
That's
we spent
that's
under a
that's
thousand bucks.
management.
Yeah, it's
You know,
yeah,
that's management. That's like things that you and I talk about every other
yeah,
day. There was a whole lot of that kind of a thing going on with the production of the mix and the way it was recorded and the artwork and just how you're gonna spelling everyone's name right. Stupid mundane stuff. Well, it's not stupid, but the things that go into producing a do-it-yourself record, and that's every record pretty much. Even when it's on a label, that's every record that this band puts out. And it's important to realize that we are managing ourselves. It's like we're not paying someone to do that. We did get a great artist that I know that we'll work with again in the near future. Craig Holloway, who's right here in Austin, Texas, where we are,
great artist.
did the
Yeah,
artwork for the new live album, and it's fucking amazing. And he took our idea and made it come to life, and he took our suggestions on, no, that's not quite it. Go back two versions. You know what I mean? And it's amazing. It's amazing that it feels good to be in charge of your own art.
yeah,
Where a lot of bands don't have that. There's a whole team assigned to your project, and sometimes the big bands don't even get to see. They'll see a sample, and if they don't like it, it's usually too late. The label's already spent millions of dollars on producing the product,
yeah.
and that's uncomfortable to me. But I bet when you're a rich rock star, you get used to that, which is still not good. You have to get used to that.
Darren Amaya is asking him. I think I think this. I got what he's asked. He said, groups only last 2 to 5 years in them. Can you speak on how to continue to be inspired to do teeth over the years? So we have a very, like we were talking earlier, we have a very specific kind of sound and style that we do. So we kind of know what it is. So if someone's writing and they throw like an idea at us, we go like, that's kind of not in the style. We know what it is. So we know, that being said, as far as lasting with people, I've been in a bunch of bands where they just implode because personalities suck. They can't work together or something, or they're too egotistical, or there's no flow. And the way we do things is just basic business. Like if there's something like, hey, Jason will call up and say, hey, this guy just said he wanted to put a song in a movie. Uh, Gonna pay us whatever. You go, yeah, that's it. Some
Yeah,
people be like, well,
pretty much
so
how it
maybe
went.
we can get more. They start like overthinking it or whatever. But I mean, if you're just starting out and you don't have a group of guys, then you can try a bunch of stuff. But we kind of keep everything tight. That's really it. Like it, if you start thinking outside that if you start thinking that there's more grandiose than it actually is, it is what it is for us. We love what we do, and we're not expecting the world out of it. Maybe that is a big help. But one of the things that I've always thought about Broken Teeth is how easy we do business. Because other bands have been so difficult just to take care of basic stuff. It's so much easier when, Jason and I have a really good working relationship. We basically manage everything. So, you know, hey, you want to do this? Sure. Or no. Or can we do it this way? Or, it's just basic stuff. So it never gets kind of overboard. And that's an easy thing. And some people like his comment was his unwritten rule: as long as we're still having fun, then we keep doing it. Well, I've had plenty of times when it's not fun. When I'm making a record and I need to pull people together, there's times when it's not fun. And gigs where, there's like, whatever. There's times when it's not fun. I just don't go, walking away based on that kind of stuff. If it's something I don't believe in, that's when I start doubting things and changing my mind about things, and might go a different way. But we have a connection. We've played in bands before Broken Teeth. We've known each other a long time, and it was just easy, So that's very helpful. But other bands I've had where there was tension, like massive tension. That tension, even though it may have broken up the band, that tension was had a lot to do with what kind of material we came out with.
Yeah, yeah, that I could see that. Uh, you have to make sure. Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Me? Yeah.
Yeah, can you? Yeah, the way that you described just even self-managing internally, the way that you mentioned, I don't recall any immediate stories, but if one or even two of the guys can't make a writing session, it's a writing session. You don't need all five guys to write a good riff or a nice song
It still
idea.
has to be fun,
Uh,
Darren. Sorry. It does have to be fun. I
I,
have a lot
I,
of fun doing it.
right. Yeah, and I know that even writing a song has to be fun. When it turns into work, you're not going to get anything done.
All my whole everything is I'm working all the time. So like a lot of times it like work. To me that is fun. I may not look like I'm having fun, but that's my version of fun. And to me, someone has to do the work. Like I know Jason works hard on whatever he's doing. I work on hard whatever I'm doing. So there may be lots of moments when there's no fun, but that's all in all, I'm having a blast. That's why I do it. So, it's kind of a weird answer because it's not just about fun. Because this is not just a basic hobby for me. I do this professionally, and so I take it a little bit more. Not that you don't. I'm just saying, it's not just about fun. That's all I really mean to say.
Right. Doug touching something that's kind of important. He says what you were talking about goes back to people who say AC/DC songs sound all the same. And he says right after, if anyone is a real fan and listens to AC/DC heavily, they knows that is not true. And amen to that, because it's not true.
Correct.
Uh, I think that it goes to what I was saying about, and I believe that that's what you're saying. He says, uh, could you imagine the backlash from those same people if AC/DC came out of left field and put some crazy shit
Right?
out?
That I've thought.
Just like processed beats and modern
Hey,
guitar
the new
sounds.
ACDC. Check it out.
Yeah, can you imagine Motorhead or AC/DC or the Ramones or even, well, Judas Priest kind of has gotten as modern, I feel like, as they're going to get. Thank God. Um, they used processed guitar tones. They use a lot of keyboards on some of their albums, and they still do periodically, but it adds just enough mod, to their records for it to not bother me that much. Sure, there's eras of Judas Priest that I feel like we are specifically might borrow from or be influenced by, obviously. Um, but I think that you can go back to that and think about any kind of music. Let's talk about Slayer for a moment. If Slayer were to add, the same ingredients that Doug just mentioned, it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. So it's important to know who you are as a band, what your tone of song you want to do, and not necessarily just because it sells, but because it makes you happy.
Yes.
The song has to make you happy. So whatever it is, uh, keep it, because that's what it means to you. If you want to get, if you want to do a solo album and do a disco album, go do it. Don't stifle any kind of music that is in you that's trying to get out. And that's been a theme that I've been talking about here. So,
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I write a lot of different things. A lot of that stuff doesn't come out, but to me, I have to do it. So I might write a pop song, that would be great for some girl to sing. You know what I mean? Like it's just a thing that pops in my head. I put it down because I have to write. So to me, doing that, that's just something I do. And it's just, I have to, that just makes me what I am. So I think a lot of people do that with their writing.
yeah. Yeah. Um, we've been in here over an hour, and this has
Yeah.
been completely awesome and exceeded our expectations. and everyone who's in here, Darren, Scott, Don, Doug, Bill, Jason Greathouse, Darren, if I already mentioned you twice, sorry.
All you guys,
Uh,
thank you for showing up and chatting with
yeah,
us,
Dan
listening.
and Jim, man, just want to kind of get everybody. Bob Yeager, Lance, Hippie Ron, Tim in Canada, Adam Guzman in Dallas, Felix down on the
I think they can
border,
rewatch this. I'm if you guys want to catch
Jim,
up, I'm hoping. If not, let us know, and I'm gonna make it so we can, you can rewatch it.
Henry. Yeah, I think that that's almost everybody. Bruce is in here. John Andrews, Dan again. Yeah, there. We're extremely excited that you guys joined us for this. But honestly, we could do this for
Yeah, I could
hours.
keep talking.
We could just, yeah, we could just go on and on. But here's the idea: is we want to do this like every Sunday or every other Sunday. And if you just pay attention to our notifications on our Facebook pages,
Yeah, we'll
or
send you a
feel
message.
if you just want to reach out and ask when we're going to do it again. Uh, yep. Thanks to Sean. I see Sean. Thank you, Sean. It's important. It's important that you guys tell all your friends and have some questions.
Yeah, if you want to see
Get
anything
some.
else, if you want anybody you want to any questions you have, let us know.
Yeah. One of my ideas was to play one of the videos, one of the songs from the live album we just put out, the live DVD, and turn the sound off or down and have us comment, "Hey, Jared, what are you thinking right here?"
Yeah,
And do like captions. We thought that might be fun and funny, um, because once we're up there, you turn into a kind of a different. You have a different hat on.
yeah, the cover of the
And it's
devil
kind
guy
of cool.
looking out, you on the queue.
It's
I've turned
it's
into a
kind of
different
cool.
person, kind of. I know I do.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's a little bit of a, you have to leave some silly behind and put some serious on, just a little bit. Or you get sillier, it just depends. But we don't like dead air. We like to keep the energy going. These guys think I talk too much sometimes.
On stage.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's
So
fine.
that's great
That's
why we
fine.
have this because we can get
Yeah,
get it
yeah,
all out.
that's fine when we think that, but if they think that, but and they're not wrong. But we try to keep it quick, and you know, as long as the message and my sermon gets heard, even just a little bit, I'm happy. But listen, I wanna close this now. Uh, if Jared, unless you have anything else you want to talk
No,
about,
I oh sorry, Darren. All of the above. No, I'm good. That was great. Look forward to the next time. I'm happy with see everybody. It's awesome.
yeah, yeah, it's cool to see names old and new on here and people that we may or may not know. Those of you who picked up the new record, thank you. Um, we, like I said, if you want to tell someone about this, they can probably find it on our YouTube page, which it will be up there streaming public. We'll make that happen today, so you can send people to it.
This won't be on there.
If you, it
No,
won't
this
be
won't
on
be on
there.
there. No,
Okay.
we
Okay.
just streamed to Facebook, so we'll probably stream to Facebook next time. We haven't streamed to YouTube, but we might. I think we can connect a little better here. We haven't figured all that out, so right now it's just Facebook at the moment.
Okay. Okay, so Facebook Live, maybe next Sunday, if you feel like you want to just direct message us and ask us when we're going to do it again, we'll have that planned out within the
Yeah,
next probably
yeah.
48
We'll let you.
hours.
We'll
So,
post when. Come back on and do some more, and we might have a special guest or two, or maybe not.
yeah,
But I think we will. So,
yeah, it might just be boring old Jason and Jared again.
all right, y'all. Thank you very much,
Guys, yeah,
and we'll see you next time.
happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Bye, kids.